Lesson 2. Out of unity you arise. The return to unity is your destiny. The mind discovers the path of return while the heart provides the key to each stage along the way. Dear friend, creation, the macrocosm, nature. Usually, the beginning teaching of esoteric schools presents creation from two perspectives: the macrocosm, all of creation, both visible and invisible; the microcosm, man. The macrocosm, or creation, is the framework in which man involves and then evolves. We shall start with the study of the macrocosm, utilizing a concept somewhat common to Western esoteric disciplines. This concept is also found in the East, but in a different form. If there is a difference between Eastern and Western teachings, it is more in the choice of the names rather than in the premise of the concept. We shall use the simplest terms and images in order to clarify, as best we can, views that are very complex. In the beginning, there is the one, or the absolute being, or the great whole. The manifest and the unmanifest proceed from the one. The macrocosm and the microcosm proceed from the manifested world. Now that we have stated that much, let's add that creation occurs in three stages: a. the emanation of the primary energy; b. the differentiation which creates duality in energy; c. the condensation or coagulation of energy into matter; emanation of the primary energy. All of creation arises from a subtle energy which seems to emanate from the void and which feeds and forms the totality of the galaxies of the universe. The word void, which is used by some schools, doesn't satisfy us. We much prefer the term non-manifest. The energy is in the universe, it is manifest. The energy is not in the universe, it is non-manifest. But it is. This energy can be grasped as the essence of the one, of the absolute being. An Indian analogy seems to fit here. Brahma breathes out, the world manifests, energy appears. Brahma breathes in, the world disappears, and progressively the energy returns to the non-manifest. This gigantic breath, which lasts about 1 billion years, is the great and fundamental cycle of the universe. It is the rhythm of the machine universe in its work of making gods. This cycle progressively guides the seed of being from the zero of the beginning to the infinity of the return. Transformation of the energy after its emanation. It is difficult to explain or describe the primary energy. The most we can say is that it is an impulse to be. As soon as it emanates, it goes first through a irration densification, a prepation coagulation. That is to say, its nature breaks away from the original, almost void. This energy doesn't densify in a continuous way, as it actually occurs in stages. There are 10 stages corresponding to 10 different densities. The most dense, the 10th, corresponds to the matter of our world. These stages are indicated in figure #1, p.13. Only the first 3 are concerned with the ion densification phase. During this phase, the energy is prepared but not yet realized. It also creates conditions necessary for duality in the form which manifests at the 4th stage. Differentiation of the energy, say figure 2. p.14, at the 3rd and 4th stages, the energy becomes the prima materia of the alchemists, the chaos of the Bible, spiritus mundi for others, etc. At stage 4, the potential duality of the energy is realized as it is differentiated into its active and passive components. Since the two parts are equivalent, they form the first symmetry of the universe. Note that the energies resulting from this division are more dense and less subtle than the primary energy. The differentiation is repeated on each energy which results from the differentiation, and so, little by little, the subtle energy acquires the heavy density of our world. We should note that in all things of our world, the 10th stage, the 10 levels of density are present, the 10th is visible, and the 9 others belong to the realm of the invisible. Duality appears with the first differentiation. In a sense, we can say that at that very moment the unitary state disappears and the potentiality for space-time appears. Duality provides energy with a twofold attribute: 1. the active energy which constitutes the elements of life; 2. the passive energy which constitutes the elements of matter. It is only in the alchemical text, the Golden Chain of Homer, that we find a few explanations on this subject. In this text, the energy of life is called niter and the energy of matter is called salt. Then, the first energy, the energy of life in turn is divided and gives the first two elements, fire and air. In the same way, the first energy of matter is divided and gives the two other elements, water V and earth V. The transformation of energy into matter, life and consciousness, A. The four elements fire A, air A, earth V and water V correspond to energies and have nothing to do with the material bodies which go by the same name. At most, the material bodies can carry these energies. As a matter of fact, the four elements are present in everything and each of them carries within itself the 10 levels of energy previously mentioned. Thus, in our world, everything which is made of matter contains 40 types of energies and the differences in their mutual relationships determines the nature of the matter and its degree of life and consciousness. Thus, in the mineral realm, matter contains a little of the elements fire and air but more of the element water and a major proportion is the element earth. In the vegetable realm, plants do not have much of the elements fire and earth but a good quantity of the elements water and air. In the animal realm, there is a large amount of the element fire. The greatest amount is in man, the element air is present but there is not much of the element earth. In the three realms, the degree of life and consciousness varies in power. The animating life force is ruled by the element fire. The fire-air combination forms the soul of things, that is, the life capable of animating matter because fire cannot, on its own, communicate its energy to matter. The animal realm contains the most fire. It is the most alive as opposed to the mineral realm which contains little fire and is therefore the less alive. The animal physical death is the drawing away of the elements air and fire, or the soul which animated the body. B. The three principles. To animate the three realms, the energies of the elements are divided into three principles/groups. Fire cannot be directly united with water and earth, the elements of matter, that is why the presence of air is necessary in the soul. The alchemists call this soul principle sulfur in order for the energies of life to transmit their influence into matter. A second principle is necessary. It contains the air of life and the water of matter. This connecting principle is called the spirit and the alchemists call it Mercury. In mythology, the function of Mercury is to be the messenger of the gods. He establishes the link between the world of spirit and the world of matter. The symbol of the Caduceus, Ace, the two intertwined serpents, represent the points where foe energies life and matter meet. The body is the third principle. It is comprised of the elements water and earth. The receiving of the influences of the soul which are transmitted through the spirit, occurs through the element water. The alchemists call this water-earth principle, the salt copyright. The same is true in man, but the principles exist at the highest level. The terms sulfur, mercury and salt have nothing to do with the physical bodies bearing these names. Water, the suffet of planetary energies. The cosmic energies act upon matter through the element water. This element is essentially contained in all liquids although the other three elements are also present in lesser proportions. Therefore if a body is rich in water or it is in a liquid state, it will receive astrological influences more significantly. These astrological influences are planetary manifestations occurring at different levels, see figure #1, p.13. When rainwater or the snow of high mountains haven't been contaminated, they are rich in life energy. The life principle is only released when the snow melts because the solid state fixes the energies and prevents their escape. In the homeopathic domain, the explanation of how the dilutions function doesn't take into consideration the sensitivity of the liquid state to vital and astral energies. Of the three realms, the animal realm, and man in particular, is the most sensitive to astrological influences. Plants are less sensitive to astrological influences because they have a lower liquid density. Solid bodies, such as minerals and metals, are practically not touched by astrological influences. Only mercury, which is a metal in the liquid state at room temperature, is subject to astrological influences. To be affected by these influences, other metals must be transformed into a salt and then dissolved in water. Space-time and the densification of matter. Let's return to the space-time aspect of duality. Simple observation shows that, at the level of our world, time is bound to space. There is no way that motion through a given space would not take a certain amount of time. Conversely, the measurement of time can only happen through either a motion or a movement in space. We can actually imagine, although in a practical way it is mentally inconceivable, that space and time result from the differentiation of the unique principle, eternity, a principle which is one aspect of the primary energy. Consciousness cannot travel from eternity to the space-time of our world or vice versa in one great step without significant alterations. This transduction or mutation occurs in 7 steps called the 7 days of creation. The spiritual reading of this subject in Genesis provides several indications. The rest of the 7th day, which corresponds to our world, symbolizes the fact that at this level man is asleep to the spiritual realities of other space-times with which he has momentarily lost contact. Note that there are only 7 days of creation, because, as we saw in Figure 1, p.13, in the 3 higher levels of energy, space-time exists in a potential state and is only manifested in the 4th. The 10 levels of density of energy constitute the 10 stages of the involution and devolution, see Figure 1. Each level from 9 to 4 included constitutes one of man's inner worlds. The 3 higher levels, which form a whole, form eternity without space-time, in an eternal present. The 7 lower levels, which form a second group, belong to the realm of time. Each level does not constitute a world, except for the last one, but a level of consciousness in man, where all things exist on the same density level. In our world, the 10th, the energies of heat, light, and electricity have adapted to the density of our matter. Man's consciousness has also adapted to this 10th density. This allows him to perceive with his senses, and it makes his life and devolution possible at this level. If you wish to obtain an approximate image of the higher levels, imagine all these things to become lighter, subtler while remaining coherent in relation to each other. A conscious and coherent life is thus possible at every level. Only genuine initiations, regardless of the method used to obtain them, can provide a correct picture of what these levels are. The causes of the universe, the ancients, Trithemius, Cornelius Agrippa and others have affirmed the existence of a triune hierarchy of powers in the universe, a hierarchy of causes which rule the visible and invisible worlds. The primary cause, the most powerful, is the closest to the absolute in the manifest. Its influence primarily touches levels 1 and 2. The secondary causes according to Trithemius are 7 in number and constitute the second level of power. These 7 causes are often called the 7 double laws, the 7 geniuses of the presence, the 7 geniuses of the throne, or the 7 planetary geniuses. Their actions affect level 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. They manage the material world from the invisible world. Finally, the third level of power is our world. It results from the action of the other 2 levels, which dominated entirely, except for the area which concerns man's free will. Involution, evolution. Originally, man was potentially an eternal being. The nature of the Absolute is such that man cannot realize himself in the eternal world, that is to say, in the eternal world, he cannot move from his state of potential being to the state of realized being, or move from zero to the infinite. Through the necessity of his growth, man voluntarily descends into space-time, into the worlds of progressively denser matter. This is involution. When he has gathered the necessary elements, man starts his way back up, he leaves the denser worlds. This is evolution. The end of the journey, the return, is his reintegration into eternity. During this journey, both on the descending path and on the ascending path, there are 10 stages. Man's consciousness must adapt to the 10 levels of energy and matter of creation. The information presented in this lesson is not easy to grasp. Some of it belongs to a realm beyond the intellect. Its several aspects will become clearer in the next lesson, where we shall make the effort to more fully grasp the unitary perspective. Work in the oratory for this lesson and the following ones. Refer to lesson #1 and follow the method suggested there. If you haven't yet obtained a uniform color in the checkerboard exercise, and this is quite possible, continue the exercise. If you obtained the uniform color, go on to the next exercise. Proposed exercise, concentrating on the mirror. The mirror should be big enough so that you can see your chest to heart level. Lighting can be provided by the 2 candles, one on each side of the mirror, however, they should not be visible in the mirror. The lighting can also come from a variable intensity light control which can be turned slowly on or off. Avoid the appearance of any brilliant point which would be visible in the mirror. The intensity of the light should allow you to clearly see yourself in the mirror, but no more. You should not have any cold sensation. Method: open your eyes and fix your gaze at the root of your nose in the mirror. There are 3 possibilities. 1. Nothing happens. 2. A sensation of cold in the feet, the legs or the hands comes over you. 3. The mirror, starting from the sides, becomes dark in concentric pulsations. Depending on the result you obtained, if you obtain 1, repeat the exercise from start 5 or 6 times. If you obtain 2, close your eyes and stop the experiment, otherwise you risk a psychically traumatic encounter, although it doesn't incur any real risk, with the guardian of the threshold, the name for the lowest level of perception of our own memories of nature. If you obtained 3, you have achieved the first step in the process. The mirror became dark. Repeat the experiment, and as soon as you reach the black point, focus on your heart with the intention of slowing it down. Little by little the heartbeat decreases and a sensation of peace pervades the being. It is important to accomplish this first result because after repeating the exercise several times, we can influence the heartbeat at will. Thus we can decrease it before we fall asleep and specifically master it in case of violent emotions, which can be useful in later experiments. In the case where 1 or 2 persists, the following solutions are to be considered. A. Attempt the experiment on Monday, preferably during the 3rd hour after sunset. B. Prepare a tea of Veronica for Monday to be taken in the hour following sunrise. If then you reach the black point, still making sure there is no sensation of cold, you may continue the experiment. However, you have reached the crucial point in that the least loss of concentration, the least distraction may break the experiment. Let's suppose that you went on with the process. A small light appears at the exact spot where the black became complete. Following the same rhythmic pulsations as for the appearance of the black, the mirror lights up. Note that these pulsations form a series of concentric waves and are synchronous to the heartbeat. The operator then sees a thing or a character in the mirror which is different from himself. The operator has now, at least once, passed the threshold, and what he perceives now, belongs to the realm of the memories of nature. When this process is completely mastered, and before you start concentrating, completely fill the brain with a chosen subject. Then, one of the aspects of the subject in mind, issuing from the memories of nature, will appear in the mirror. Do not be surprised by the faded appearance of most images. It is because they appear in their lunar form and configuration. If complete failure persists, continue the first step and stop as soon as you feel a sensation of cold. If you succeed, and this is what we wish, do not have a triumphant attitude, remain humble, discreet, do not behave contrary to the ethics of the situation. The mirror exercise is not an exercise in self-hypnosis, it is an exercise based on symbolism. The creation of duality can only happen as a result of the reflection of unity upon itself. The mirror is the symbol of the first phase of creation. Ora et labora. The philosophers of nature appendix and figures, appendix, energy and matter, an article from the Little Philosopher of Nature. Figure #1, condensation of energy into matter of the cosmic egg. Figure #2, emanation of energy. Appendix: energy and matter. Article from the Little Philosopher of Nature. Alchemy and Kabbalah have similar concepts of nature, energy and matter. The concepts are not so different in their principles from scientific concepts. However, we can say that they differ in the question of the why and the how. Up to the present day, science has been striving to demonstrate that life proceeds from matter. It did not take the trouble, however, to ponder why both energy and matter exist. The alchemical and Kabbalistic conception of creation is the reverse. In beginning, there is only the void, there is only a universal impulse for being. This impulse creates energy in the form of consciousness. After this consciousness has been focused, so to speak, it can produce a manifested energy. This energy, which is omnipresent in the universe, is not the light of the sun, or the stars. It is an energy much more subtle, of a spiritual order and, following several condensations, of an ethereal order, energies of the lunar level. In our solar system, the sun transforms this energy into an electromagnetic form. Visible light is only a small portion of this energy. The same occurs in systems existing far away from our galaxy. Modern science says that there is an equivalence between energy and matter, and that for a certain quantity of energy we obtain a certain mass of matter. Alchemists and Kabbalists agree with this point of view. Alchemists have been saying for a long time that matter is only condensed light which results from the condensation of astral light. The astral light is compound of the spiritual energies previously mentioned. There must be a way to demonstrate this statement alchemically, because several old works describe methods of extracting light from metals. The condensation of light into matter doesn't occur in one single step. Light, the element fire, coagulates into the element air, then into the element water, and finally into the element earth. These elements are collected in the atmosphere through the dew or the rainwater. In the water, the four elements generate two new principles, the Ga, the universal seed, and the archeus, fertilizing the universal seed. The composition of the archeus determines the force and the direction. The archeus can, from the Ga, generate metals, ores, and also the plants of the vegetable realm without any other seed but the Ga. It can generate beings without utilizing sexuality. You do not need Darwin nor the Bible to understand the evolution of creation, even though both contain a part of the truth. In the beginning of each galactic cycle, consciousness creates that which it needs, then it starts its very slow involution toward the mineral world. As needed, the Ga and the archeus create the nobler metals and ores. When this cycle is complete, consciousness starts the vegetable evolution. Here again, vegetable beings are created according to the needs of evolution. Finally, the animal cycle is started. Again, the Ga and the archeus create beings following the needs of evolution. The progressive changes are the work of nature, the changes of threshold are the work of the Ga and the archeus. Self-consciousness, man's privilege, appears at the end of this cycle. A new type of cycle appears because human consciousness is to reach the galactic dimension through the involution and devolution of the levels of consciousness. Figure #1 The condensation of energy or the cosmic egg. This diagram, figure #1, symbolizes the 10 levels of condensation of matter energy. Above level 1, there is the one or the primary energy, the realm of the uncreated, of the non-manifest. From 2 to 3, the finite infinite border. From 4 to 10, the finite world. From 1 to 10, the created or manifested world. On the left, the 10 stages of the descent with simply the numbers in order. These are the levels through which the consciousness of the astral domains is chronically and sequentially lost.